What's the weirdest thing that you've seen at someone's house that they thought was completely normal? At a friend's house, the family would toss a spaghetti noodle at the wall to see if the pasta was done cooking. Apparently if it sticks to the wall, it's done. But they don't remove the spaghetti noodles, so there's just a crap ton of old pasta sticking to the wall. I used to deliver motorized wheelchairs to patients and ensure they could safely operate them in all areas of their home. Delivered one to this home that, I'm not kidding, was covered floor to ceiling in every room of the house with shelves full of dolls of little girls. The patient was an elderly man who tried to apologize for the creepy house and explained that his wife was off her rocker. I smiled and kept that woman in my line of sight the entire time I was there. There were easily over 1,000 dolls. It gets creepier. The wife was very excited to share her story with me. All of those dolls were her children. Haha. They each had a name, a birthday, a unique personality, a unique life story, interacted with the other children a certain way, etc. It turns out that for the last 45 years or so, if this lady saw a little girl she thought was cute or interesting, she would come home and custom make a doll that would resemble that child and create a persona for that doll in her mind. The day I happened to be there, 3 or 4 of the dolls were having their birthday. The lady had the dolls situated around the kitchen table in high chairs. In front of each doll was a piece of cake with a corresponding amount of birthday candles that was appropriate for each doll. She insisted that I sing happy birthday with her and her husband. After we sang, she blew out all the birthday candles, clapped, and then her husband and I were asked to leave her alone to tend to the children while they had their cake. I felt so sorry for my patient. He was very embarrassed, and his eyes told me that being as old as he was and being around crazy as long as he had been, his grip on reality was slipping, and he was scared. This is actually about my house growing up. So first thing, my mother is seriously mentally ill. She idolized her mother and sister, and anytime they took an interest in something she had to not only join in their interests but surpass it by miles. So at one point my grandmother bought a 30-gallon fish tank. My mother went out and bought a 55-gallon one that took up half a living room wall. The thing was massive. My mom quickly lost interest in it and just let it go to pot. She never emptied it or anything. So for months we had a very large pool of algae as the centerpiece of our living room. We never had guests and the rest of the house was a pest-ridden garbage heap, so it wasn't exactly out of place. But still we just passed by that festering mess every day. Eventually it was cleaned out, and a single angelfish had been living the saddest existence possible in the murkiness. He was rehomed and actually lived for several more years. A few years ago a kind, if weird situation ended in me helping a guy down the street move into the house next door to mine. While we were there, he pulled out a coffin. Like, who casually keeps a coffin in their garage? Obviously this is strange, but he went on to tell me that he's had people note the fuck out of his house when they see it thinking he's into some weird shit. Turns out he just knows a guy who makes coffins, and it's pretty comfortable to sleep in. Or he's a vampire. My girlfriend's dad leaves the leashes attached to their dogs while in the house. The first time I came over, it was the weirdest goddamned thing and nobody batted an eye at it. The dogs would just run around the house with leashes dragging behind them still clipped to their harnesses. He never took them off or put them up. I really will never understand the obsession with covering furniture with plastic. It's furniture? You sit on it? You use it? What is this? Honestly, I'm so insulted at having to sit on the ass equivalent of a crinkly food wrap condom. Old ladies are the worst offenders for this MO too. Went to a friend's house when I was 14. His mom didn't allow shoes in the house, so it was bare feet or socks. Used his bathroom and my socks got soaked when I walked on his bathroom rug. Thought it was strange and maybe a pipe might be leaking. Washing my hands, notice a garbage can full of TP and some shit on a piece. Go back to his room and explained what I saw in his bathroom. He looked at me like I sprouted a second head. Told me he's not allowed to flush TP, may clog the toilet. Okay, bad pipes, cheap apartment, whatever. The rug though, he would put cold water on it all the time because it felt good during the summer on his feet. My uncle leaves his Christmas tree up year round. Good reason for it though. His son put it up and decorated it the day before he died. Totally out of the blue heart attack. He says it's the last thing his son did, and he can't bring himself to take it down. Next door neighbors growing up. The dad was an extremely frugal guy and didn't want his family flushing the toilet too much in an effort to save money on water. One day I'm over there and asked to use the bathroom. I go in, lift up the lid, and see just a heaping pile of poop in there. It appeared as though they just stacked them on top of one another. Turds were sticking up almost to the rim of the bowl. But it gets grosser. I return to my friend's room, horrified, and he says, sorry, I forgot to tell you about the shitter situation. I'll ask my dad to get the shit stick to break everything up, so it will flush. Shit stick. It was a potato masher. So out comes his dad, Marlboro red dangling from his lips, no gloves, and he just starts going to town in the toilet. Amazingly, everything flushed. After he was done chopping the shit up, he comes and says, if either of you go #2, don't flush. I never went over to their house after that. Didn't happen to me, but a friend/co-worker of mine went to another co-worker's home for dinner. His nickname was Electric Al, and he had done a lot of LSD in the 70s and had quit shortly before I started. My friend said that Al's house seemed pretty normal, as did Al's wife. However, after dinner he asked my friend if he would like to meet his son. His son who had been a miscarriage and was in a jar on the mantle in Al's den. I did not believe this story at first, but at least 2 other co-workers confirmed it. When I was a kid my parents were looking for a new house. Our realtor showed us a place owned by a well-known local TV reporter. The house was beautiful, but it was covered in vanity shots of the reporter. Like old Hollywood glamour photos, and they were everywhere. Walls, coffee tables, mantle, dressers. Each one was completely different, and there were no photos of anyone else in the house, even though she was married and had children. Once when I was kid, maybe 10 to 11, I went to a mate's place to play video games. Walk into his living-in room, and on the walls are 4 giant framed semi-nude pin-up photos of his mum, who was very average looking. They were done in a super cheesy 80s way, but I suspect they were taken much more recently. They weren't like full frontal nudity, but like softcore promo shots, e.g. her wearing cheap lingerie with her ass crack showing on satin sheets with roses on it. I was like, who is that? My mate was like, who do you think? I said, IDK, pornster? He was like, no, that's my mum. One was a guy in grade school whose house was a hoarder's paradise. Garage full of old broken crap, hallways with stuff stacked on each side, rooms with crap strewn all around / behind furniture. Like 3/4 of the house was like that. His bedroom was worse, had 2 fish tanks with nasty ass water and dead fish in them that he never cleaned. It was the most disgusting and disturbing thing I'd seen and smelled. Other was a girl that was obsessed with dragons. We are talking an adult woman in her late 20s with an entire living room and bedroom covered in dragon stuff. Paintings, pictures, sculptures, candles, mirrors, you name it, and she had it. She was also kind of a nerdy introvert, so that didn't really help her cause, although she was cool once she opened up and had a couple beers. My grandpa's girlfriend had a bunch of bras and underwear hanging on random objects throughout the house, for no apparent reason. There was a bra dangling from a fireplace poker, a pair of underwear hanging from the bathroom door handle. Another pair were just chilling on the arm of the couch. That was the first and last time I ever stepped foot in that house. I knew a family where the sister, every other day it seemed, would put together cake mix, but not bake it. She'd mix it up and eat like 3 spoonfuls of it, and then leave the bowl wherever she was at the moment. Moldy bowls of cake mix with raw egg everywhere, and no one says a thing. Once, she left one in her brother's room one week and his girlfriend used it to put her old tampons when they had period sex. He stuffed the bowl at the back of his closet for several weeks. You can probably imagine the rest. I went round to a mate's house and he dropped his pants before sitting down. He just sat there with them round his ankles, but didn't say anything, or even acknowledge he had done it. When I asked him what he was doing, it turns out, the sofa was new, and because it was cream leather his mum made him take off his jeans before he sat on it, so it didn't stain. Stopped at some distant relative of my husband's. Creepy older gent, who kept trying to get my 6-year-old daughter to sit on his lap. UHM. No. Some owns half-naked toddlers running around half-naked, one with a diaper that looks and smells like it should have been changed last week, and another child straight up playing in her overflowing little box. The whole place smelled like stale piss. As soon as we left, I called CPS for a well-being checkup on those kiddos. Note, my husband is the youngest of 10 siblings. His mother has been married 5 times. He has 22 step-siblings. Straight Outta Florida does not begin to describe these people. My husband, however, did not feel the need to live like that and pulled himself up by his own bootstraps. When I would go to a friend's house, his dad would get super pissed if he drank anything that was not half diluted with water. Orange juice, soda, lemonade, anything. I'm not talking just stuff from concentrate that you mix with water. I'm referring to actual bottled drinks you buy from the store. I cannot remember how many times I would hear his dad come home and immediately first thing go check the levels of all the beverages in the fridge and ask my friend if he drank anything without mixing it with water. This was not for health reasons and they did not have it hard off. They are very well off and if anything have too much money for their own good. So this never made any sense. Fucking weird. To flip this on its head, for some reason we had a bag of plaster of Paris mix in our bathroom. No idea how it got there. It was being used for model making, with a spoon in it. Eventually we get a guest over, and said bag has been forgotten about. He walks in there, sees what looks like a massive bag of cocaine with a spoon sticking out of it, and quizzically asks, "How rich are you guys then?" We removed it pretty quickly after then. This is not my story, but my German teachers. Anyway, my teacher looks like the least qualified person to be a German teacher, as he is an overweight, probably gay African American. He knows the language well, though, and is a very fun guy. He holds a second job as a translator for Lufthansa at our local airport, so he can fly to Germany for free, though he more often takes free flights from a family member who is a flight attendant. Sometimes he would go to Germany for literally a weekend, fly out Friday, arrive Saturday, fly back Sunday. He is good friends with the English teacher at our partner school in Germany, so he would often stay at this teacher's house. This teacher has 2 sons, one 5 and one 7 at the time. One day my German teacher arrived and was pretty jet lagged, so he fell asleep on the English teacher's couch. The younger son had many of his friends over, and they were playing some kind of game like hide and seek. Well, the group came to the room where my German teacher was sleeping, and many of them got scared. They pointed at my teacher and kept asking, "Who is that dark guy?" The son was very confused until he finally figured it out and said, "Ooh, that's my uncle, first name, from America." My German teacher was listening the whole time and found it cute that the idea of race was not present in the little boy's mind. This will probably get buried, but my aunt had an old baby mattress. It was degraded and pretty gross. They offered it to my family for our dog to use, so we figured it was somewhat disposable. It was kept in their basement. We were staying in their basement for a few months. Their son slept in a little utilities room in the same basement. Eventually, their basement flooded with sewage and the mattress was soaked. I was only 13 or so, and thought it would be fun to throw pencils at it, because the mattress was so rotten and disgusting that pencils actually stuck into it really easily. When they figured out that I threw pencils at their rotten mattress, they were furious. They actually screamed and threw the mattress at me because of it. They acted like it's some normal thing for people to keep sewage-soaked mattresses forever because it's sentimental. I went to a party at a friend's house in high school. Weed, alcohol, and people having sex in some of the bedrooms. It was okay at first, until his mom comes home with more supplies. It turns out she had provided all the drugs, liquor, and condoms for everyone. This made me feel uncomfortable to the point where I no longer wanted to be there. Apparently she did this for all his parties. Just not something a parent should ever do.